Ayo, what's up and welcome? I'm the one and only West Coast King, and welcome back to Major League 90. Yeah, it's been, I always say it's been a while. It's been longer than a while. I haven't done one this season, as a matter of fact, so I figure, what better time than the right now? Let's live in the now, baby. Let's get back into it right here and right now, and let's talk some Major League Soccer, all right? I haven't done one of these this year, so I figure what better place to start and get the first one going this season than let's just talk about the teams that are doing well. Let's talk about teams that are at the top, maybe some surprise teams in there, and then also maybe some surprise teams that are not doing so well. So basically, if your team is somewhere in the middle, you get a pass. We're not talking about you this week. No one cares. I'm just playing. We care. We'd care more if you were better or if you were actually just shit. So let's get this thing started at the top. Let's start off on a high note. The number one team in the league this year is Atlanta. Surprising? No. Not unless you're living under a rock, man. This team is legit. They are the best offensive team in the league, one of the better defensive teams in the league, which makes them pretty much the same as last year, but with a better roster. So good luck to everyone else. I'm pretty sure with the way things are shaping up right now, and I've seen pretty much every team play at least once or twice this year, no team has impressed me as much as Atlanta has. They just are one of the top teams in the league. I expect them to contend for a supporter shield this season, and honestly, I see weaknesses in every other team that could hold them back. I don't see very many with Atlanta. They could be the front runners this year for everything. Honestly, they could be the best team in the league this year, which I didn't expect. So I guess surprising, not that they're at the top, but surprising that they are going to be the best, possibly. So a little bit of both. The number two team so far this season is Sporting Kansas City. Surprising? A little bit more so, I think. It's not surprising that they're a good team, and they always usually are. But it is surprising that they're kind of out in front of the Western Conference, and I think that speaks a little bit more to the rest of the Western Conference that hasn't been the greatest. I mean, East has been better this year. Let's be honest. They were better last year. They're better again this year. That's not surprising. But credit where credit is due. Sporting Kansas City is taking care of business. They're better than at least what I thought they were gonna be. Again, their defense is always going to be great. It's one of the better defenses in the league, but the fact that they're, the second best goal scoring team in the league this year, that is not just surprising, that is utterly jaw-dropping. They usually struggle mightily to score goals, but they're having no problems this year. They're handling business on the offensive end, and if they continue to do that, they will be the best team in the Western Conference this season. We have two teams tied for number 3 so far this year. So let's start off with the Columbus Crew. Surprising that they're in second place in the Eastern Conference right now? I'm going to say no, because I said this year, Columbus is a good team. They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Now, this isn't the exact same team that made the conference final last year. They lost 2 major parts of the team, but it's still the same core players. And I said this year is going to hinge on Gyasi Zardes if he can A, stay healthy, and B, be the man, which he's never had to do before. If he can be the guy and score goals at striker for Columbus, they're going to be good. And he's done just that. He has I think 8 goals in 12 games? It might be 9 goals. I'm not sure. He scored a lot of goals though. And he's doing that. They're a good team. So for me, not surprising. And tied on 21 points with Columbus is NYCFC. Surprising? No. Again, no, not surprising. I picked them to be one of the top 3 teams in the league, or in the Eastern Conference this year. They're currently in number 3, but they're going to be there all year. I mean, they're not going to get knocked. They're a good team. I mean, what did you expect? There's nothing really to talk about with NYCFC, are they? They're so good that they're boring almost. So, yeah, I mean, I guess congratulations to them because they're so good. But yeah, not surprising at all. And to round out the top 5 in the league so far this season is LA, not Galaxy. No, LAFC, which in some circles would be surprising. In others, they would say not so much. But I think you'd be lying a little bit if you didn't say that it was surprising they're in second place in the Western Conference right now. I thought that they'd be decent this year, a borderline playoff team. Did not expect them to be a bit of an offensive juggernaut. No. I knew they had good players. Didn't know how it was all going to fit together, and apparently it fits together quite nicely. kind of like a finished Rubik's Cube. It's just pretty, isn't it? It just works. It just looks so good together. And they can run you right off the field if you slip up a little bit. So the fact that they've beaten my Sounders twice is frustrating as hell because it was 1-0 both times. But at the same time, I'm actually kind of happy it wasn't worse because it very well could have been. So surprising a little bit that they're as good as they are, but not surprising that they are going to be most likely a playoff team this year. So now we can talk about the teams that are surprising in a bad way. And I think you know what two teams we're going to be talking about. How about the two that have faced each other in the MLS Cup final the last 2 seasons? Let's get things started with Seattle because they're actually somehow better than Toronto this year. They're on 8 points and it hasn't been fun. I can tell you from riding the green wave so far this season, not fun at all. But they're very much in the same predicament. They started off the season focusing on the CONCACAF Champions League. It didn't work out for either one of them. Toronto got a little bit further, but still weren't able to achieve what they wanted to do. And then ever since then, they've been riding a very vicious wave of injuries. And when you're missing 4 or 5 starters out of your starting 11 in the MLS, you cannot cope with that. I don't care if you have Giovinco in your team. It's not enough to get it done when you need 11 players. And that's where both of these teams are. I mean, just last match against Portland where Seattle switched everything. I give Schmetzer a lot of credit for that. He changed everything, went with a 5 at the back, which I don't think I've ever seen out of Seattle before. And it worked very well. I'd say they dominated parts of that match, especially in the midfield with that new formation. Portland just couldn't get anything done. Then the injury bug hit again. They lost the defender, had to go back to 4 at the back and lost the game. That's just been the story of Seattle's season thus far. Same with Toronto. And I don't know if it's going to get any better. I mean, it couldn't get any worse. I know Seattle's planning a big overhaul this summer with a massive designated player signing. I don't know who that's going to be, but it better be a striker because right now Seattle's the worst offense in the league. And I guess I kind of cover Seattle and Toronto at the same time, but we can discuss Toronto a little bit on their own. They're missing a whole slew of players as well, including Josie Altidore, who's going to be out for quite a while with that foot surgery. And they're too good to be this bad. They're not going to be the worst team in the league. They can't possibly be. But right now, only DC has fewer points than they do. And DC's played 1 game less. So, I mean, Toronto might be sitting in dead last heading into June. Which would be the most shocking storyline of the entire season. I don't even care who finishes in first place overall. Toronto in last place going into June would be the overall most shocking story of the year. But I don't expect them to stay there. At the very least, they're a playoff team. And I would expect them to turn it around sooner rather than later. They're about to get a couple of players back. Vanderbilt sat out their last game. He'll be back pretty soon. A couple of others. Vasquez. I mean, they're going to be a better team than what they are right now. So I figure what better way to round out this first comeback episode for me of the season than a classic ML90 segment. That is 3 stars. We're going to be recognizing some individuals from around the league that have had a good start to the year and deserve some personal recognition on some pretty decent teams. So star number 1 for me this year is going to go to none other than the blonde bomber himself, Gyasi Zardes. I'm actually proud of this guy, man. I really am. Last year, he went through times where it looked like he didn't know where the goal was or what he was supposed to do with the ball. It was bad. This year, he's completely turned it around and he's starting to look like the player that he always looked like he could be. He's finally starting to realize that potential. His personal record for goals in a season is 16. He looks like he's well on his way to breaking that. 8 through 12 is not too bad. A very nice pace for him. Tied for the league leading goals with Josef Martinez from Atlanta. But we expect Martinez to score. Gyasi's a little bit more surprising. Proud of him, and I'm looking forward to what he can do with Columbus and maybe another call up to the U.S. national team. For the last 2 stars, we're going to be splitting them between a pair of teammates. So for star number 2, we're headed back to LA and that LAFC team with Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi. Vela has 6 goals to go along with 5 assists. Rossi has 6 assists to go with 4 goals. And together, they're leading that team, and they link up and it's magical. That looks like a very formidable pairing for the next few years in LA. And if they continue to build around them, adding a couple pieces here and there, they're going to be one of the better teams in the Western Conference for years to come. So it all comes down to health, as it does with every MLS team. But if those 2 guys stay healthy and keep playing like they are, that's going to be a very dangerous team come playoff time. And for the third and final star, we're headed back across the country to the East Coast and the New York Red Bulls with Bradley Wright Phillips and Alejandro Romero Gamara, or Kaku, if you will. And those two guys have New York Red Bulls in 4th place right now. They played fewer games than all the teams ahead of them, so they could actually be a little bit higher up in the standings. They're good, man. They were a very, very good offensive team. I said at the beginning of the year that if Kaku comes in and provides anything close to what Sasha Kljestan was giving them, they're still going to be a great team. Despite having lost pieces each of the past couple of years, they still look good, and Kaku could be a huge part of what they're doing. He currently leads the league with 7 assists to go along with 3 goals. Bradley Wright Phillips has 6 goals and 5 assists, and they link up very well together. Just like Vela and Rossi, Kaku and BWP are looking very good together in New York. All right, so that is going to do it for this return episode of Major League 90. But before I sign off, I kind of want to run this idea past you guys real quick, especially you Sounders fans out there. You may have noticed I tend to talk about the Sounders a little bit more in these episodes than any other team. And that's because the Sounders, that's the team I support. That's my passion right there. But, and I could talk about them a lot more than what I do, but because I try to keep this at least semi-balanced, don't always do it so well, but I try to keep it semi-balanced and not talk about them forever. But maybe what I should do instead is do a completely different series for the Sounders where I go more in depth and really get into what it is that's wrong with the Sounders, especially right now where there's quite a bit. And just maybe make that its own series. I'll still talk about the Sounders on Major League 90 when it's appropriate to do so, but I won't probably talk about them every single episode. So again, especially you Sounders fans, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing down in the comments below. But that is it for this one. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you when we come back for some more Major League 90. And don't look at me like that. I know what you're thinking. Oh, you're not going to come back for like 2. I'll be back, okay? We're going to be back with Major League 90 more often. I promise. All right? See ya.